Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem. Welcome back to today's Daf Hayomi, Meseches NIDAH Samach Aleph. We begin at the Mishnah right on top of the Amid. Back to the question of a stain that was discovered in a joint usage area, a place used by 3 women. Who do we attribute the stain to? Says the Mishnah. Shalish Nashim. We have 3 Nashim lying on the same bed. Show you Shenois Bibitachas. So we have this bed situated, let's say from right to left. Right, the length is from right to left. And they were sleeping side by side along the width of the bed. Now, one side of the bed is near the wall, and the other side is away from the wall. Now, where was the stain discovered? We have 3 Nashim lying on this bed. 1 near the wall, 1 beside her, and 1, the outer one, beside the middle Isha. So, the stain was discovered beneath the middle one. Kulan Tmeyas, they're all tummy, because it could have come from either of these individuals. However, Tachas Apnimis, beneath the inner one near the wall, then it could have come from her or the one next to her. Tachas Apnimis, Shtaim Apnimis Tmeyas, the 2 inner ones are tummy, but the outer one is free and clear. It's too far from her. It could not have come from her. Likewise, Tachas Chitzayna, discovered beneath the outer one. In this case, Shtaim Chitzayna is Tmeyas. The 2 outer ones are Tmeyas, because it could have come from either one. So again, even though it was found beneath this one, but the one next to her is close enough, there's a chance it could have come from her as well. But the one all the way inside by the wall is Tahira. Hey Mosai, when do we say that if it was found beneath the Chitzayna, the one all the way inside is spared? Bizman she'avru derech margolis hamita. That's when they went up over the through the legs, so the width of the bed. So each one sort of went up directly to her slot, did not cross over the other ones. Avalim avru derech aleho or aliyah. They went over the outer one, over aleho, over the space of the outer one. So basically, they all traversed that outer slot. Kulan Tmeyas, in this case, even the inner one is bound by the stain, because since she passed over that area, it could have come from her. Now, Bodka Achas Mehen, in a situation where they're all presumed Tameh until we can confirm, in fact, who the culprit is. Suppose one gets up and makes a self-examination. Bodka Achas Mehen, if an sister discovers herself to be Tahir, she's off the hook. He Tahira. And the other ones are presumed to be Tameh. Shtaim Atmeis. Bodka Shtaim Matzu Tahira. Suppose 2 women checked and found themselves to be Tahir, so that checked off. Hein Tahirais. And the third one will take the blame. Shlishis Tameh. But if Shlashtan, they all 3 checked themselves and all confirmed themselves to be Tahir. So now we're back to square one. Because it's impossible. It had to have come from somebody. So in a way, sometimes better is worse. The fact that they're all confirmed to be Tahir reverts back to the baseline, in which case they're all equally suspected of being the source of the dam. What's this comparable to? Another similar scenario with a similar outcome. Legal Tameh, you have a mound in the ground in which you know there is some tumah. Problem is, you got it mixed up with another 2. You have 3 total. You don't know. You can't identify which one's the tameh. One was dug through and certified to be tahar. Matzu tahar. Okay, so that's going to be tahar. Tahar. Ushnayim tmei. So he's going to be tahar. And the other ones are going to remain in doubt of tumah. Shnaim umatzu tahir. Suppose they check through 2 mounds and discover nothing. Heim tahirin shlishitami. They're okay. And the third one is presumed to be the one hosting the tumah. Now shlashtan umatzu tahir. Suppose they checked all 3 and found nothing. So now you think it's better? No, it's worse. Kulan Tmeim, because the Meir holds. The fact is, it has to be somewhere. So if none of them have it, then they're all equal candidates for hosting the tumah, and you have to give them all a status of tummy. As Rameya tells us, something which has a status of tumah. It retains that tumah status until you can confirm where the tumah is. Until you can discover where the tumah is. The Chachamim disagree. So in the case of the women, they agree that if they're all tahar, then they're all tameh. But in this case, they say, look, do what you could, dig through the mounds, dig down until you get to bedrock, or the v'sula, or to undisturbed soil, and you're free and clear of any tumah, because past that point, it wouldn't be. Now, before we get into this discussion, let's just go back to the beginning of the Mishnah. We have 3 nashim on the same bed. We find a stain. So it really depends on its location. If it's found here, so those are tamib. The one further is tahar. In contrast to the previous Mishnah, we don't make this type of differentiation. We say, look, if you found dam, under any one of them, says the Mishnah, kulan tameis. And the obvious question is, what is the difference between the two Mishnahs? Mishnah Reisha Delay Maflik. Why is it that the previous Mishnah we make no distinction? One stain anywhere affects them all. But here we differentiate based on location. The reason is because in the earlier Mishnah we're talking that they're all sort of locked in with each other, all lying very, very crowded. In which case a stain found anywhere in the area implicates them all. As opposed to our Mishnah, where there's some roominess between them, and therefore we assume the one at the far extreme side of the bed has no connection to the stain found over here. So if they all 3 examined and found nothing, and then it's back to square one, they're all tummy. Just like in the case of the 3 mounds, which according to our mayor would have a similar effect. We went through all of them, we found nothing, and they're all back tummy. What's the point of comparing this to bringing this analogy? How does it add clarity to our Mishnah? Rabbi Meir Rabban. This was part of Rabbi Meir's presentation to the Rabbanon. Why is it? I know that you take issue with my position regarding the mounds, despite the fact that you agree with me when it comes to the women. They're all 3 presumed to be tahar, well, then they're all tameh. What's the difference between the dam and the tumah in the mounds? Why is it that by the women, you have no issue with implicating them all? As opposed to the case of the mound, where you disagree with me. For Rabbanon, they respond, huge difference, especially in the case where we checked all 3 mounds and found nothing, there's an alibi, there's a cover story. We can excuse it. We can attribute it to a raven. Yeah, there was tumah, but he snatched and he disappeared. That's how it disappeared, and there's really nothing consistent with your inspection. But in the case of the women, it's an impossibility. It had to have come from one of these 3. So if it's none, then it's all. Here, where did dam come from? So here we agree. If they, even though they all inspected themselves, discovered nothing, they came up empty-handed. So back to square one. There's no reason to attribute it to one over the other, and they're all tummy. Tanya. Now over to the machlekes regarding the tumah in the mounds. Amar Meir will support his position with a story. Masa, there was a story of Shikma Shel Kfar Saba, this Shikma tree in the Kfar Saba area, where there was a known tumah beneath it. There was a caver of some sort. And they came to make an inspection. They checked the area and they found nothing. Well, Yamim, turns out a bit later, a big wind came along, it uprooted this tree, and guess what they found? They found a skull of a mace stuck into its roots when the tree got overturned. So what does that prove? That inspections aren't always conclusive. The Chum responded, yeah, they didn't do a proper inspection because they couldn't get into the roots. Misham, right? How do you prove anything from there to a regular mound? which can be easily inspected. The Imar, we can say, but didn't check it properly. But a easily examined mound of dirt, why not? You check it, there's nothing there. Done. Tanya, Rabbi Yossi, another riot to this point. Masa, a story of Marshal Shichin, this cave in Shichin, where they knew there was Tumah there. So they checked, until they got to the lower level of the karka, which was smooth like a fingernail, meaning clearly undisturbed. So they stopped right there, knowing there's nothing beyond that point. They didn't find anything. So they thought. It turns out a bit later, there was a big rainstorm outside, and the workers came running in for protection. They came along with their hose, with their shovels, and I guess to pass time, they were banging around and digging. And they started digging and cracking with their axes, with their tools. And guess what? They found this hole in the ground filled with human bones. So what do we see? That inspections aren't always conclusive. So the Chacham responded, how do you prove anything from there? Perhaps they didn't check properly initially. But in the case where they checked properly, you don't find, then it's not there. Tanya, comes another story. There was this hard, rocky field and property in Beis Chayron, where there was known to be Tumah there. And the Chachamim had a hard time checking it because it was a large area, hard to dig. So they, hesitated to go through the project, or through the effort of checking it, but they still wanted to know. There was this elder Chacham there who advised them. What was his name? Rabbi Shua ben Chanan Yishmoy. He says, look, skip the tractors. I'll show you how to do it. Easy solution. Havilu sadinin. Present me with sheets. They did so. Havilu sadinim. Okay, so yes, for sadinim, they brought him sadinim. V'sharon b'mayim. So he soaked it in water. U'parsan and he took these wet sheets and spread it over the area. And what happened? You see the ground which had been dug through is porous and absorbent. So it would absorb, it would suck in the moisture of these wet cloths. And you would see moisture in the ground. So ground which had been disturbed and dug and used to bury tumah, you see that it's now moist, as opposed to the undisturbed, hard soil that's more resistant. It's less porous and not absorbent. It wouldn't suck the moisture into it, so it would remain dry. And that's how we'd know which area had been dug through, which area is presumed to contain tumah, and which area had not been disturbed and is tumah free. Malkim tahar, the place which was tar, with no tumah inside, undug, undisturbed, is yavish, remained dry. Yochim tumah, the place of tumah lach was moist. In fact, they followed that indicator. So they dug the area which was moist. Ubatku, umatsu, bar. In fact, they went and they discovered this pit, big pit, malat summits full of human remains. Exactly as the Zaken, as the Chacham had forecasted. Okay, what was the bar full of atzamais? Who were those atzamais? Tana, we learned in the Brayso, who a bar? Shemili Yishmael ben Nesani Chalolim. That was the bar that Yishmael ben Nesanya, filled with his murdered victims. T'chsiv, a bar she'ishlach sham Yishmael es kol birger anashim. That's where he put the murdered people. Asher hika b'yad Gedalia, which was struck by Gedalia. Now it sounds like Gedalia was the one who struck them. But it's not so. Gedalia Harogan? Is it so that Gedalia is guilty of doing this? Well, Yishmael Harogan. Yishmael was the one who killed him, as the pasuk clearly says. He's the one. Ella. Why do we attribute it to Gedalia? Because he's partially to blame. He's a partial cause here. Because Gedalia, the famous Tzaddik Gedalia ben Achikam, that's right, same Gedalia. What happened was that there was a fellow Yochanan Kireach who warned him that he's about to be killed, right? Yishmael ben Hassan is going to kill you. And he didn't want to accept, evil speech, lashon hara. And because of that, he was actually struck down by Yishmael, who eventually caused the whole, the incident and the tragedy. But Gedaliah initially should have been more careful and should have been more discerning. He should have at least suspected that the information that was being forwarded to him had some credibility and should have taken precaution, not allow himself to be killed by Yishmael. So we partially attribute the tragedy to him. It's because he should have attributed credibility, some credibility to the advice, to the information being provided to him by Yonis ben Kireach, the heads up that he gave him ahead of time, and he failed to take precaution. Torah considers it as if he's guilty for these murders. Rava, furthermore, says Rava, based on this lesson of history, Hai Lishna Bisha, this lashon hara information, even though you're not supposed to really believe it, you're not supposed to be makabel, which means to say you shouldn't believe lashon hara, but but you should be chayshish. It should arouse some element of concern in your mind, in your heart, and you must take proper precaution to protect yourself based on that information. In fact, there was another story aligned with this point. Hanu b'nei Glila, these residents of the Golil area of Eretz Yisrael, the Nafak Alaya Gola, the Koto Nafsha, the word went out that they were guilty of murder, and the authorities were pursuing them to punish them and to kill them. Also, come to Rabbi Tarfon, they approached Rabbi Tarfon for protection. Amrulay, they told him, Litmarninan Mar, please, Rabbi, save us, hide us. Amr Lahusi says, look, this information that's being told about you, I'm not going to accept it as fact, but I'm going to consider it in terms of taking precautions. Hechi Navitz, and now I'm stuck. I'm in a dilemma. If I don't hide you, the authorities will find you and if I hide you, but maybe you're really guilty and I shouldn't be doing so. Rashi says you're not allowed to save them from the authorities. Tesis learns a bit different. He says if I do it and you're really guilty of what they're suspecting you of being guilty of, so then I'm going to be the one punished. Hamar Rabbanan Hailish Nabisha, Hamar already told us. Lashon Hara Afrav Dil Kabula Miboy, although you should not accept it as fact, you should consider the implications of that information. And therefore, look, I'll advise you to hide yourself. Maybe give them some advice where to hide, but up to that. Zilu Atun, go, you go ahead. Timru Nafshach, hide yourself. Hopefully, you'll be spared. Furthermore, on this topic, Hashem tells Moshe, when they were approaching Sichon, Oig, Al Tira, don't have any fear from him. So the question is, when it came to battling Sichon, Moshe had no issue. When it came to Oig, Hashem had to assure him and comfort him. Why specifically by Oig? Michti, look, Sichon and V'Oig were brothers, Achi Havu, two giant brothers. Damar, as we learned, Sichon V'Oig were the sons Bnei Achia ben Shamarzai Havu. He was one of the Nephilim, one of the giants that came down in the time of Enosh. So these were two brothers, same family, presumably of similar strength and status. So why was he afraid more of Oig than Sichon? Maishna me Oig tek Mustafi. Why was he afraid of Oig and not of Sichon? Maishna, why is it that Misichon, the Mustafi, wasn't afraid of Sichon? Moshe Rabbeinu was concerned about some element of zechus, of merit that perhaps Oig has, which will stand in his merit and protect him and make it more difficult to vanquish him. Based on the reply that Hashem gave that great tzaddik Moshe Rabbeinu, out of there you can surmise what was in his heart, what was concerning Moshe Rabbeinu. Omar, Moshe Rabbeinu says, I'm concerned. Why? Shema tamad le'schus shel Avram Avinu. Perhaps Avram Avinu's schus will protect him, because way back when Oig actually helped and advised Avram Avinu when he came to inform him that his nephew Lot was taken captive, which in effect was a lashon hara, which Avram Avinu did consider. Meichash mi boy. Another example of considering the possibility, the merits of lashon hara, if it's for a constructive purpose. So when did that happen? Shenamar vayavaya palit. The palit, which is a reference to Oig, we'll see why. He came by Yagid. He came to inform Avram Ivri about his nephew. V'amar b'Yechanan. Who is this palit fellow? That's Oig shepalat, who was spared. He escaped midar hamavel. He was spared the effects of the mabel. How? Rashi says he ran away to Eretz Yisrael, which was mabel free. Tana Rabbana. Be'eged shovad by kesem. So we have this kesem of dam NIDAH, which got lost in the beged. How did the stain get lost? So Rashi says because the beged, which had the dam NIDAH, also got loaded up with other stains of kosher blood of behemoths and chayes. So now we don't know which is which. Ma'aver olav shiva samimon mevatle. How do you solve this issue? You take certain ingredients, certain detergent materials, 7 in total, which will be discussed in the next Mishnah, tomorrow's daf. You apply it to the beged, and that affects a bittul. Mevatle ledam, says Rashi. So the cleansing agents will weaken, will fade the stain to the point that it's bottle, even if there's some trace of color remaining, but the essence of the blood is considered to be washed out and removed. So going forward, this beged has no tumah, because let's realize the kesem of an isha has a twofold effect. It's mitama the woman, also it's considered dam tami, which is mitama the beged. Once you wash it with the seven samanim, it's considered null and void, and the beged is now tahor to be used. Rabbi Shimon Elazar Omer, you don't have to go that far. He says, take a close-up inspection, piece by piece, carefully, and that's enough to discern the dam of the isha. And if you don't find it, you assume Rashi Taisa says maybe it got washed out somehow. Boydka, he checks the garment shchunois. It's like neighborhood by neighborhood. Rashi says every 3 finger widths, 3 etzbois square. So it's each section. 3 etzbois a shir or a beged. So you check section by section, and if it's not there, it's presumed to be gone. Likewise, of the Vaishiv Hazara, on another note, let's say you have a zera stain somewhere on the beged, you don't know where. So if it's a worn out garment, we'll see in a second, there's an easy method to determine discern the presence by running the material against the sun. And if you can see right through it, then you know it has no zera in there. Otherwise, if your vision is blocked, then there's the zera stain. But if it's a beged chadash, more of a newer beged, which is thicker and more stiff, in which case the other method doesn't work. But you run a needle over it, and you check if the needle goes through easily, then you know there's no zera there. Otherwise, if it gets stuck, there's your zera stain. Shachak, if it's a worn out beged, but you check it against the sun, as we explained. Tana. The Bryce explained the term shchunos discussed earlier. Ein shchuna pchusim shalosh etzbois. Shchuna is no less than 3 etzbois, meaning so each section of 3 etzbois is meant to be checked separately. And if it's not there, then there's no dam NIDAH. Tana Rabbanan. Speaking about a beged, a lost element, we have a similar story of a beged showed by kilayim. You have a beged in which kilayim got lost. So you had a wool garment, and there's some sort of kilayim thread, there's a linen thread somewhere in there, but undiscernible. So if it's a clear-cut kilayim, there's no issue selling it to a guy because it's plainly evident to be kilayim. But if it's undiscernible, then there's always a chance that the guy might pass it on to a yid, an unsuspecting customer who might wear it. You can't sell it to a guy. Nor can you use it as a mat for a donkey, because eventually he might strip off a piece as a patch for his pants, and then he's wearing kilayim. And again, this is only concerned because the kilayim is not discernible. We could use it as a garment for a mace, who need not be concerned about wearing kilayim. We learn from here mitzvahs, the obligations, including kalayim, are not relevant when the mason come alive. Otherwise, he's going to be wearing kalayim when he comes back alive. Mitzvahs beteles. Mitzvahs become discounted. Lasad lavai. Amar le Abaye, v'temer Rav Dimi. V'amar Rav Mani or Rav Yanai. Didn't we learn that it's not so simple? Eshonu ela l'saftai. When can you dress the mace with kalayim? That's only during the lavaya when you're usually eulogizing him. But to bury him, in which case he'll be wearing it when he comes back alive. It's asur. Amar Lesi responded, Lavit Marlo, we have explained on it already. Amar Rabbi Yechanan says, no, I feel like it's okay even to bury him in that garment of kalayim. Why? Rabbi Yechanan Tameh. Rabbi Yechanan follows his own opinion. Rabbi Yechanan, what is the pasuk in Tehillah mean when it says, B'meisam chavshi, in the dead there's freedom? Meaning he's no longer able to capitalize on the ability to choose and to perform and to earn. Kivan shemeis adam, once a person passes away, nasa chavshi min mitzvah, becomes free of mitzvahs. And therefore, according to Rabbi Yechanan, he's not obligated to the mitzvahs in the Torah once he's mace. And likewise, even when he comes back alive, the chira and the whole idea of doing mitzvahs and refraining from averus will no longer be applicable, which is something only unique and exclusive to Ilum Hazeh. Amar Rav Papa, Amar Rav Chizda. So he quotes Rav Chizda as follows. Once again, we have a beged with some lost kalayim. Beged shavei kalayim. I have a simple method of locating the kalayim or determining that it's kalayim free. Just dye it a little bit, paint it. Soivai, paint it a mutter. Now you know it's okay. How? We'll see in a minute. Amar le Rava. So Rava turned l'Rav Papa. Menole l'sabaha. How does the elder Chacham Rav Chizda, know how to know about this, possible solution? How does he know that it's a feasible option? Menole l'sabah. Amar Leshi says, look, we find a precedent to this type of method in the Mishnah. Masnisani. This non-Mishnah says, let's say you have a mound in which you know there is some tumah. Check through it, and if there's nothing there, it's gone. You check until you get to the bedrock. Suppose you don't discover any tumah, which was certainly there. You can speculate, as unlikely as it may sound, but maybe a bird came and took it away. Fact is, there's no tumah now. It's considered to be okay. Here as well by the garment which had kalayim. Although there was a thread there. But once you do this test, that confirms without a shadow of a doubt that there's no kalayim there now. Look, wool and linen, ba'adadi, loisalik lu'utziva. The tzeva will not catch equally to both types of materials. Rashi explains that the wool is more absorbent versus the linen, which is a bit more repellent. So the dye will be clearly discernible on the linen differently than the wool. Here it's going to be a deeper, more absorbed dye, and here it's going to be more of a surface type of color. The kivan dilo yudia. So once he performs this test and he sees no difference throughout the entire cloth, that confirms that there is no kalayim, Amar, so you have to speculate. Minter nata, the thread must have fallen out somewhere along the road. And therefore it's okay. Amar of Achabre Rav Yeva, Shmeit Marzucha, Haimanda Rami Chuta de Kitna Beklimei. Damra, a fellow knows that he stuck a kitna thread, a linen thread, into his glimei da'amra, into his wool garment. V'natke, what I do? And he yanked it out. But he's not sure whether he got it completely out. Maybe there's some fibers left behind. Liyada. He's not sure if he got it fully extracted. Liynatik or not. Shabri dami, go ahead and wear it, no problem. My time. Why? There's a safek kalayim there. The answer is, it's only safek the Rabbanah. Because min ha-Torah, midaraisa, kalayim is only when the wool and linen fibers go through a joint 3-step process. Combed together, spun together into threads, and then ultimately woven together. But in absence of any of these 3 joint processes, it's only Kalayim D'Rabbanan. Such as in our case, where he didn't go through all the processes together. It was a woolen garment, and then he ran a linen thread through it, or linen fiber. That's only Kalayim D'Rabbanan. And since there's a good chance, right, there's a suffix, whether it's there or not, suffix D'Rabbanan, l'kul. How does the pasuk describe Kalayim with the word shanes, which is a compilation of 3 words? Shua, the test is tavoy, and the nun zayin is nuz. Shua means smoothly combed. Tavoy we know is threaded, right? There's spun, and nuz means it's woven together. Shanes siv shiyet shua tavoy v'nuz. It's only Kalayim if the fibers were joined together throughout these 3 steps. For Rabbanon goes Rebbe, but in the absence of these 3 steps, Rabbanon applied Xera, they made it Asr, such as in our case, but given L'Yediyah, Inat Kishari, but since he's not sure whether he completely extracted, it's okay. He says different pshat in Shah Tov V'nuz. It just says that unlike Rashi, who learns that the Gemara means that the 2 types of fibers have to be combed, spun, and woven together, he says no, each one independently has to go through the 3 processes. So the question is why, in our case, where you have a thread in the wool, is only the Rabbanon. It was woven together, even though it wasn't combed and spun together. So he says because in our case it wasn't really a thread; it was just a fiber, a linen fiber. So that fiber doesn't qualify as a potential Kalayim material because it wasn't spun into a thread. So it's merely midrabanan. There's a suffix. It's okay. Maskefla Rav Ashi. How do you know you need all 3 steps? Suppose we can say, oi, one or the other. Shatnez means one or the other. Oi shua, either combed together. Oi tavoi, oi nuz. The conclusion is Kamasotra, like him. The fact that the Torah expresses it in one word, shatnez, to indicate that in fact you need 3 processes. A 3-phase joint process in order for it to be considered to qualify as Kalayim in Torah. Back to the stain on the blood stain on the beged. Beged savua mitamishum kesem. Even a colored garment will be affected by a NIDAH blood stain. No way, ain't mitamishum kesem if it's colored, which makes it more difficult to discern the precise coloration of the stain. Even red isn't necessarily metame. We learned back when, right, that there are endless, shades and hues of red, and only certain specific ones, 5 in total, are metame. So once you're talking about a colored surface, it makes it for a more difficult discernation, in which case the Chum discounted the whole Tumas Kesem, which of course to begin with is only the Rabbanon. It's only going to be metame if it's on a white surface, where it's clearly discernible. Shaloi Tiknu, in fact, that's the reason why the Chachamim established Big Day Tzivonim Lish that a woman should wear colored. Allah Hakal, the only reason why they did it is to make it easier on her. Allah Hakal Kismeim, to relieve them of the Ksamim issue. And that confirms that in fact a colored beged is not impacted by a stain. Now, when he said Tiknu, they were misaken to wear colored, what is he referring to? When was there such a takana? Tiknu, my takninu. Elash lehutru, it means to say it was only allowed for this purpose. Something which shouldn't be allowed was allowed. The reason why it was allowed was to make it easier for the ksamim. What do you mean allowed? Hutru, machlal asiri. Why would it be asr? Yep. It's not. In fact, we find throughout history that the chacham will misaken certain things, certain restrictions, as an expression of mourning for the various tragedies that happened, and there was a notion to disallow wearing colored garments, but they allowed it in order to avail the women to the kula of ksamim. In the Snam of Pulma Shabbos, so as Pasyanis came to attack, Gozru Ataris Chasanim, they decreed against the canopies. The grooms would have these canopies on the way to the weddings, so they disallowed that in order to somewhat minimize these celebratory events by the chasanas on account of the churban. Vala'iris, likewise, this allowed the use of a certain type of instruments, like a drum, and in fact they wanted to add a ban against colored garments. Amri, but the response was no. all factors considered, we have to allow it to adifa. It's better to allow it through to make it easier for the woman regarding ksamim, since if she's wearing colored, she is spared the issue of ksamim. Okay, so conclusion. We start with the Mishnah, with the Shalish Nashim, with that one stain. Who's affected, depending on the location of the stain and the proximity to the women lying there. We spoke about a bedika, confirming that a specific woman is tar, so she's scot-free. The other ones will take the blame. But if they're all three confirmed to be tar, now we're back to square one. You have to consider all of them as candidates for that dam. Even the Chacham agree in this case, because where did the dam come from? It must have come from somebody. So until we can, isolate it, they all have to consider themselves to be tummy. This is in contrast to the case of the tumah found in the mounds, where Chacham would argue against Rameir, who says that once three are confirmed to be tar, they're all tummy. They say no. Once they're all confirmed to be tar, tummy free, we assume that the tumah disappeared somehow. The Erev came and snatched it away. However, the Gemara did bring 3 episodes which appear to support Rameir's shita, which some of which was responded to by the Chachamim. Then, in fact, so Chacham responded. The first one they said, well, it wasn't checked properly. The second one as well, and the third one actually they did come up with a solution. The Sadinin determining the location of the tumah. We moved on to the sugi of lashon hara, that Gedali ben Achikam was somewhat to blame for the tragedy that ensued as a result of his refusal to even entertain the possibility that the information that was conveyed to him had some credibility. In fact, Rabbah concludes by saying that a person, although he's not meant to believe, but he's meant to be choishish when he hears something concerning. We had a similar story about Avraham Avinu with light, who accepted that information and acted accordingly. We had the beged shavad by kesem, so we had the concept of the shivas hamamanim, which are mevatel the kesem of the isha, nullifies it and deactivates its tumah. We had ways of checking for zera. We had the story of the beged with the kalaim, fiber lost within it. Be careful not to cause any michshol, don't sell it to a guy, etc. We discussed the interesting sugi about whether or not al-asad lavi there will be mitzvah obligations, and we had a chiddush that in Torah we need shua tava v'nus to constitute kalaim. The rabbanon even less than that, and in the case where it's safek the rabbanon we go the kula. Concluded with the machlokes regarding big day tzivayin, whether or not they become affected by ksamim. Halacha is that they are not affected by ksamim. In fact, the Ramah brings that a woman should wear tzivayin in order to spare ourselves the issue of ksamim. Suras Tevis, all the best to you, and Hatzlacha Rabbah.